And we're back on Fresh Waves, as promised, hour number 2 with Barbara and Karthik. Actually, Barbara, can we call you Barb?
Sure.
Okay, just have to make sure because some people don't like their names shortened. No. Okay, so Barb, if you're in the store, someone comes in and they say, well, I'm just looking into this. I just want something that's going to make me feel good and make me a little bit more relaxed. Is there something that you could recommend? What would be the first thing that would come to your mind?
The first thing, it is usually the crystals to some extent, because we are sort of first and foremost a crystal shop, I guess. And there's, there's things they can carry, they can wear it, they can keep it by their bed. It just works. Like so many people really, say, and I can't, once I have my crystals, like I can't leave them behind, or I like to have them with me, or I'm not comfortable without them, because the energy of that crystal does work on them. So there's specific crystals like howlite, like rose quartz, like red jasper, that are all kind of their energy subtly interacts with your energy, and it's really hard to explain or describe, but it will just help you feel better. So that's one of the ways we can look at that.
Okay, if someone said the same thing to you, Karthik, what would you say?
I give them the information, and I'm we try that at the store. That let the customer be drawn to something that they like, because then it's that much more powerful because they've made that decision. So, for example, if they you can't help but just appreciate the crystals in its entirety because of the colors and the amount of time and the nature takes to make it that perfect. People love the singing bowls. People love the bells and the tingshaws. What that happens is, I think, any product, when you use it, I think that takes care of the left brain, the analytical brain, which often, if it's not taken care of, it becomes the thinker, which blocks your healing, because it starts to question, what is this doing? Is this working? I don't think it's working. It does all the you called it the monkey talk, right? The brain does the monkey brain, and it does that. So if you give it something positive to focus on. So, for example, if you give it a crystal, the person's working with the crystal. It's like, I can think about this mantra in my mind, or I can just simply say, I'm healthy and well. That reminds me of the Julius mantra, we call it, because it's a
7-year-old. That's his mantra. I'm healthy and well.
It's a staff, it's a assistant manager, Chintzia. It's her son. He says that's his mantra, and it's perfect. She's
taught him to do that. So.
I am healthy and well.
I'm healthy and well.
What a beautiful thing to say.
It's perfect. And that's how our new generation will teach us to an extent. The simple, basic things. But anyways, the point was that if you give it a mantra, you work at it. You give your left brain, which eventually can either be an asset or not. You give it something to work on. Repeat this mantra over and over again.
Give it something to do. I call my left brain the poop pigeon, and it just sits on my shoulder and literally poops on everything that I think of. Why don't you do this? No, I can think of 16 reasons why you can't do that. Next.
All that negative self-talk.
Negative self-talk, and it's the poop pigeon really does a bad job sometimes. But also, if you learn to control it, it can be your best friend, right?
It can be an asset.
And that's the whole
make
path.
the beast beautiful.
Yeah. That's the whole path of mindfulness, really, is then becoming aware of what's going on between our ears, and tuning into that and realizing and choosing what we want to focus on, believe in. Because we have choice.
So I guess
all the time.
it would be a good idea to do a little research into these things, but let's give people an idea of what kind of things we're talking about. Like, what is Reiki? You hear it all the time. What is it, other than a bizarre word to look at?
It's an ancient practice of touch therapy. It's touch healing.
Touch healing.
It's essentially working with the etheric body. It's just like the blueprint on which the physical body is made of. It's working with those. When you talk about the chakras, they are part of the etheric body, and the physical correspondence to that are the 7 glands, as we talked about earlier. And it's been this form of touch therapy has existed since many millennia, and they've changed terms and forms and things like that. It's like, even when back in the biblical reference, Jesus healed the lepers by just touching them, just being there. His mere presence healed them, and there are different aspects to it. It's changed the process of it over time. Reiki is a Japanese word. I don't remember the exact time frame when it was formed, but it was the master Usui who actually was given some of these information when he meditated at the mountaintop, as the legend goes. And he came back down, and he was blessed with this technique of healing people. But essentially, Reiki is about placing your hands, the practitioner who does it places their hands gently on top of the patient, generally working with the 7 chakras, the major ones, and then there are some minor chakra points as well. Good way to visualize that is if you visualize an acupuncture chart of the human anatomy, you see all these meridian points. So when you do Reiki, you're either working with major or minor points, and you're working to make sure that there is no blockages in terms of energy. It's going in and out as needed. And what happens is, depending on how we're dealing with life, we tend to create blockages because of our thoughts and emotion, and that eventually impedes the natural flow of energy. And if it's chronic enough, it concretizes and creates a form in the physical body, and that's when it's physicalized. So you got to work with it.
You can even digress into dis-ease
quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah. So energy. Yeah.
A lot of arthritises and things can be attributed to blockages of energy.
Yeah. It's both. It's both laying of hands, but also hovering. So it's a form of energy healing, really, Reiki. And people.
So what would you use it for?
So first of all, Reiki is extremely relaxing. If you've ever had a massage, you know how relaxed you are. Well, strangely enough, even though somebody who's giving you a Reiki treatment is either very gently touching your body or even not touching your body, just hovering over your body with their hands, it's even more relaxing than a massage treatment. And it also can be quite experiential too. You can have different feelings, different thoughts, images that come to you. But the practitioner is basically, the whole idea behind Reiki is that they're channeling a universal energy, that this energy exists within the cosmos, and that they are trained to kind of act as a channel. That's all. They're really not doing the healing, and they know that. And the ego has to get out of the way.
They're the conduit.
And they're the conduit. And so they become attuned to the energy, and through their hands mostly, the Reiki will actually, the energy, they're just the focus, and they're there to help and to channel that energy, and the energy will know where really it needs to go into the body. And it's a healing energy, basically. And that, whether it's the chakra, whether it's a blockage, whether it's physically, emotionally, or mentally, like all of those things, that energy can go to help heal whatever that particular ailment is in that person.
I'm kind of one of those people who sometimes needs to do have the science to back things up, or the reality. So I actually went to somebody who said they were a Reiki master. My mom's a Reiki master too, and I didn't tell them a thing. So what's ailing you? Well, I don't know. Nothing really. Just here, and she put her hands kind of not on but around and found exactly where I was. If she had asked me and I answered honestly, I would have told her, that's where it's hurting. And she went right there without me saying a thing. And that makes me think, maybe there is something to this.
And it depends on the, just like any profession, it takes experience from the practitioner's part to be sensitive to that feedback, the energy feedback, and diagnose. Unfortunately, science has not backed it up as yet, but it's becoming more and more mainstream these days, Reiki as a treatment, so much so that certain corporations are offering that as a treatment. They're saying, okay, meditation is an avenue for our worker bees to be less stressful, and also you can have some Reiki treatments. They might not understand it fully, but the way, again, it's just energetics. We just have to be open-minded to experience that and draw our own conclusions out of it.
Right. We're going to continue our discussion right after this quick break.
Hi folks, Kim Mitchell here. However you choose to get around, your ATV, your snowmobile, your boat, car, if you have a motorcycle, all these things take 100% of your attention and skill to operate safely. Alcohol impairs that, and bad things can happen. So, be smart, okay? You know what I'm going to say next.
This message brought to you from the Safe and Sober Awareness Committee.
And we're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. We're speaking with Barb and Karthik from The Point of Light, and we're talking about different modalities. So people are out there, they're looking for something to make them feel better. I think we all want to feel as good as we possibly can, especially in cold and flu season. And for those of you who are regular listeners, you will notice that I have a cold. It's driving me absolutely crazy, and if I'm coughing, I do apologize, but there's only so many fisherman's friend a person can eat in an hour show. Anyway, so we just talked about Reiki, and when I think of Reiki, I think of the other R word, which is reflexology. And people don't know what that is. They think, oh, I'm just going to go and get a foot rub. I can do that when I go for a pedicure. But it's a little different, isn't it?
It is. It's the underlying concept of that is that the human body is designed like a hologram. So just you've got minor chakra points in your hands and feet of everything that is in your system. So for example, you have a stomach point, a liver point, and all that in your hands and feet. So that understanding helps the practitioners work on those points in your hands and feet. And they do it, it's similar to acupressure in that way. They know those points and they apply gentle pressure and massaging techniques and things like that, which brings the organs back into a state of sync, helps the energy flow and things like that.
It's all related to the meridians, the energy lines that run through your body. I mean, they're known through Chinese acupuncture, of course.
And of course, the bottom line is it feels good. So
yes and no, sometimes.
Oh yeah, sometimes it can really hurt.
It can,
when my mom hits a spot that is not doing so well, like a liver spot or something. Wow.
Yeah, you nailed it. The liver is tough. Yeah. We know that from experience.
Yeah. And so the idea is that in the hands and the feet, like you said, the organs are mirrored by certain spots, and by rubbing those spots and touching those spots in a certain educated way, that you can actually help move the energy through those organs, get them flowing for health again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of the modalities that you do, what kind of modality you do? Reiki.
Both Barb and I do Reiki, but we do it as a practice for ourselves. We don't do it as a practice like as a profession.
We have practitioners. We're too busy running the place to actually do stuff.
Don't have the time.
Do stuff anymore? No.
There is a lot of boring stuff in the background that needs to be done. And that's what we do.
So that's the business side that you got to do when you were in banking.
It's serving us well now because it's actually a lot of work. We focus on, Karthik gives a lot of classes on singing bowls, on crystals, on...
so the crystals, we talked about crystals earlier, and the singing bowls, now that's another thing altogether. And it often can be used as a therapy, but it's not a music therapy, it's a sound therapy. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's there's a bit of a backstory there. So it stems out, I joke about this in my class, that in Indian practice, back in the day, you start your spiritual practice first in the morning, and there's a little altar, you do a little ceremony and all that kind of stuff. But you always start with an acoustic instrument like a bell or a chime or a cymbal, like that. Yes, you just played it. There we go.
Yeah, it's a nice sound too, isn't it? To start or finish something, or just to hear it, the vibration is really lovely.
It is. It is. So I remember as a little kid, being given the bell, I was really excited. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be the bell guy, right? And then I started asking questions. A few days later, I'm like, why do we do that? Why do we start always before you recite a prayer or a mantra or anything? Why do you play the bell? And after a while, my grandmother tried explaining to it, the best she could. I still, annoying little child. I'm like, oh no, why? And then after a while, she said, it's just tradition. Just shut your mouth and do it.
Yeah.
So I did, but the question never went away. So after, all these years later, at the store, we started doing, singing bowl as we started carrying it as a product. So of course, the scientific part of my brain started going to understanding the phenomena. And I realized what that does is basically when you're emanating any sound, it is a principle in physics called standing waves. It's basically waves going back and forth in the same pattern. Like if you do a skipping rope, and at any point in time you can see the skipping rope all around that space, that's a standing wave. It's the simplest form of standing wave there is. But what it does, it basically clears the atmosphere. It moves any particle, any media, whether it's air, water, or solid. including our bodies, it moves through these particles and clears them. So the first thing that we do first in the morning is to send out energy particles to clear away the staleness that the nightfall prior brought on, because nothing moves and life slows down. We are all sleeping, energy slowing down. So the first thing you got to do is just charge it up and just make sure that it's moving and it's healthy, because that's the harmonic way. So that understanding I had, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So now I understood why I was the bellboy back in the day. But then to understand, to an extent, you have to understand the notes in music. So every instrument has a certain note in music. You got 7 notes in music in normal 7-note music patterns that we have, and each note in music resonates with a chakra point. There are 7 chakra points in the body. So if you're talking about, let's just say, the heart, the note in music is F, and just like in music, you've got different octaves. So for you might like F in the 2nd octave, for example. I'm just assuming, if it is, let's say, 50 hertz. For Barb, it might be, she might like in the 4th octave, so it's 4 times that, so she would be 200 hertz. But we're all slightly different. So for all our physical bodies and chakra points, you might resonate with the same note but at a different octave. And what you do is you actually play the bowl. And again, like what I said earlier about the left brain, the singing bowl is an excellent example, because it forces your left brain to focus on the process of making the bowl sing and making sure it's singing well and not screeching. So your left brain is given a positive task, and your right brain is completely focused and immersed in the sound of it. And that sound permeates through anything, including our bodies. And that releases any kind of tension that we're holding on in the physical body, in our aura system, and so forth and so forth in the greater macrocosm. It's an excellent way of bringing our chakra points back into a state of balance.
Yeah, when we sometimes we use the bowl to cleanse the crystals and the jewelry before it leaves the store, for people that want us to do that. And so we get a little cleansing every time we get to play the bowl at the front there. But I always find it interesting that when you play the bowl and it's kind of the right note for you, all of a sudden you'll just feel a release. Like you're playing and you just feel, and your shoulders are kind of drop, and you'll just feel really good. And that's a really good way to choose a bowl too. If you're shopping for a bowl, you're looking for something.
You resonate with it.
Play everything, and it just, it should feel right to you. The tone should be right to you, and then also it just maybe gives you that extra little, makes you kind of sigh and release.
Yeah,
and
all of that
good.
Is the right brain there, right? That's the intuitive brain. That's the one that is doing the choosing by saying, all these bowls, that is the one I'm in love with. So that's the intuitive brain kicking in.
Yeah.
We should,
and you need to play them in order to buy the one that's right for you.
Yes, absolutely.
I was at the Rockhound Jamboree up in Bancroft. I don't know if you're familiar with
yeah.
that. It's a great place to try some fun things with crystals and bowls. And there were a bunch of singing bowls, and I picked one up, and it just looked beautiful. Never buy a book by its cover.
Yes.
I went to play it, and the man came running over and he says, "Oh, you can't play them anymore.
Yeah, I know.
All the other vendors don't want us to play them. It's annoying them." Yeah. And I was thinking, "Ooh, what bull is screeching on their brains?
Yeah.
How silly."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I'm not going to buy a bull if I can't hear it."
Yeah.
So I did take it outside, and as a matter of fact, it was better.
Yeah.
Because it was less noisy, and there were no harsh lights and everything, and I think it was easier to concentrate on which sound I liked. And in the end, I closed my eyes and did not pick the pretty one.
Yeah.
You went with the sound.
Sounded, and like you said, it gives you this, that's my bowl.
Yeah.
You just know it right away. The poop pigeon can just fly away.
Yep.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to say about it. It's just the one you like.
Yeah.
That's why I found it very difficult that day at your store to pick out the bowl for my daughter.
Yeah.
It's a little tougher.
Yeah.
It is. It's tougher. So I went with a total academic kind of an approach.
Yeah.
This is what she needs. This is what she's having problems with. What notes resonate with this part of the body, the throat for her.
Right.
And we chose accordingly.
Yeah.
So I think it was a pretty safe bet.
Yeah. And that's a very left brain issue-based approach.
Right.
And to each their own, right? You have to, depending on what you have. So if you're picking something and you for somebody else, that's the only approach you can take. Sometimes we have people who are more happy-go-lucky mindset. They're more intuitive than analytical. They just play and they're like, without even looking at the bottom of the bowl. We mark the frequencies as to what they are in music and note and everything, chakra point. They don't even look in the bottom sometimes. They're like, that's the bowl I like. I'm pretty sure I'm tuned into that person's frequency, and that's what they like. And that works for them, and that's great.
That's fine.
We have both the left and the right hemispheres, and we're given that.
Yep.
It's just sometimes we favor one or the other, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And sometimes you need more than one bowl because they have different sounds, and
Absolutely.
at certain times one appeals to you more than
Yep.
than another.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, depending on what's going on within you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In your own system.
Yeah, and there are different different uses for the singing bowls. Like for example, you can use a singing bowl, like what I said about cleansing the air, cleansing the room, cleansing the aura. That's one aspect. You can use it for balancing your chakra points back into a state of calm and harmony. That's another one. If you're specifically looking for health related chakra points, health related issues, then you might want to consider a stronger intensity, which is where crystal bowls come in. Now those are significantly higher in pricing, but the reason they made of quartz, which is molten glass, and B, they have a higher amplitude, which is higher power. It packs a punch. The sound effect
certainly does.
So it's more used for, if you know the issues. For example, if you know the issue, let's just say if it's somebody working with issues with the pancreas or diabetes of sorts, let's just say that's related to the solar plexus chakra point. The note in music is E. If they like that tone and they figured out E in 286 hertz, for example, I'm just making it up. If they like that and they play that tone, then my advice would be, if that is your sole focus, you then pick something that has more power. So that's where the crystal bowls come in handy. And there are different ways you can use them. You can use them just by playing it. A lot of people do water infusion. They if the bowl is clear enough, they pour the water directly in it, or they put a water bottle like that in the bowl. It's preferred if it's glass, with a little description. So the sound goes through the water and saturates the water with that note in music.
That note and energy.
And you can carry that water with you all day. And bring your chakra point back into a state of harmony and balance.
That's really interesting because there is science to back that up. If you look at the water images.
Yeah, Dr. Emoto. Dr. Emoto.
Yes. And you can see the water, how it just is clear and beautiful, and then it gets totally messed up and scattered.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I used to study with a man named Sensei Eula.
Oh, yeah.
And he's now moved out east. Sensei, come back. An amazing guy, acupuncturist, nutritionist. He was born in Tibet, educated in Tibet, China, Canada, and the U.S.
Yeah.
He's got a wide range. And he always said he couldn't understand North American massage therapy.
Uh-huh.
He said, "Why are you messing up with that body?" He never wanted the body all messed up.
Yeah.
He liked to have, when he did Reiki or different massage techniques, it was always very purposeful and always had a path.
Yeah.
He just didn't like all this messing up all over the place.
Yeah.
And he was the same with his music.
Yeah.
You don't need this messy music. All you need is a good singing bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There, again, with music, there are certain frequencies that are much better. 432 hertz is in sacred geometry. That's a sacred frequency.
Yeah, 432.
432. Yeah.
Is that Harpen?
Hertz.
Harpen, the man who writes the music. He does a lot of stuff. I can't remember his first name at the moment, but his last name is Harper.
Oh, I know.
And he
Halpern, Stephen Halpern.
Stephen Harpern.
Yeah.
And he does really great music to get you to sleep. There's another tool for your toolbox, folks. If you're interested, look him up. Yeah. And all of the frequencies that he plays, well, he does a whole bunch of stuff, but his stuff for sleep is all based on frequencies that actually relax you and help you to sleep. And if you just put this on in the background, you can even use your darn cell phones for something positive and time 10 minutes, say, or 15 minutes. And then as you're winding down to sleep, this is also helping you to relax. And it's helping you on a cellular level. It's not just, BTO that you happen to like.
Yeah. Big difference. Yeah.
Huge difference. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion. And you're going to find out more interesting tips from Barb and Karthik. Stay tuned. You're listening to Fresh Waves.